Hi, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to Issues and Inspiration. This is episode 6, and I'm here in New York, and I'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for watching us. And with me is my beautiful friend, my hardworking friend. Hi, Grace. Kumusta?
Hi, Marivir. Good evening, and good evening to our viewers. Thank you for joining us again tonight. And this is our sixth episode for the year.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is our sixth.
Happy Women's Month, Marivir.
Happy to you
And,
as well.
yeah, and to all women watching us tonight, and greetings to all women around the globe. Happy
Right.
Women's Day to you.
More power to us, right?
Exactly. So, Marivir, you had your first vaccine. How are you feeling?
I'm good, but
Mhm.
my arm was sore in the first 2 days. So thank you so much. I was very impressed and very grateful to the staff at the Javits Center for providing us with a very swift and a very warm, masasabi mo talagang warm accommodation
Yes.
by the National Guards and the medical staff. Very amazing. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
what you do.
We both had our vaccine at the Javits
Yeah. Are you
Center, right?
feeling okay?
I'm feeling better. Yeah,
Feeling
and
better, huh?
better aside from sleepy, a bit sleepy, but I'm good. I'm good.
Yes, good,
Yeah,
good.
and yeah, the Javits Center was very organized.
I say hi to Bianca.
Oh, you can hear Bianca. I'm sorry about
Yeah,
that.
it's all
Okay.
right.
All right,
Wants to
Madhavir.
join the
So,
show. So
so our
tonight
topic for tonight is
is a very
exciting.
interesting one.
Exactly. It's about how moms raise biracial children. Marivir, having a biracial identity can have its set of, pros and cons. So it's great to address these concerns with our
Yeah,
guests tonight, who I
yeah.
believe are amazing moms.
They really are amazing moms. So we should
Mhm.
introduce them now.
Yes, it's my pleasure. So let's start off with Miss Fleur Harris, who is the
Mm-hmm.
managing editor of the Washington Lawyer magazine in Washington, D.C. Originally from Cebu City, Philippines, she was previously editor of a San Francisco-based FilAm weekly publication, and before that, the Daily Freeman newspaper in Cebu. She is a mother of two, Rashan 23 and Malia 6. She holds a bachelor degree in mass communication and is a proud Silimania. She is currently based in Northern Virginia and married 15 years and counting to Kevin Harris, who thinks she drinks too much coffee, but she begs to disagree. We'll ask her more about that. Okay, so next is Marie.
Welcome, Fleur.
Yes, welcome, Floor.
Thank you. Thanks
Good
for having me.
evening.
And
Yeah,
happy
Yes,
International Women's Month.
yes. And so our next guest.
and to our next guest, we have Marie Therese Serrana, who was born and raised in Cebu City, Philippines. She is an educator who finished her MS in Environmental Education and certificate to teach elementary school in Connecticut. At present, she is an elementary school teacher and building staff in Worthington Hooker School, New Haven, Connecticut. She has worked as a teaching assistant in Yale University's Summer Film Institute in the past summer sessions and in 2 semesters for a field study on Cebuano language in Yale's Linguistics Department. She has completed her MA in Urban and Regional Planning at the University of the Philippines in Diliman and has a BA in Political Science also from UP in Cebu. She lives in New Haven, Connecticut with her 14-year-old son, John Carlos Leon Thelonious, and his dad, Charles Moser, who she got married to in 2005. Good evening, Therese.
Hi, good
Hello.
evening,
Hello.
everybody. Revere and Floor and Grace.
Good
Happy this
evening. Thank you for
month.
joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me. Such a pleasure.
Okay,
Good to
so,
see you.
all right, so let's start off with my first question. Okay,
Mhm.
so Fleur and Therese, could you please tell us briefly about your work before we talk about motherhood?
Sure, you want me to go
Yeah,
first?
let's start. Yeah, Fleur.
What I do for work, and I will quote Malia on this, my daughter. Um,
Uh-huh.
she says that all I do is read and write some more. So, but I've been a copy editor for the last 2 decades,
Mm-hmm.
and currently I am the managing editor of Washington Lawyer magazine, which is the flagship publication of the District of Columbia Bar in Washington D.C.
Great.
Amazing.
And Therese?
So, hi everybody. As mentioned earlier, I'm an educator. So currently, I'm an elementary school teacher in Burlington Hooker School. So, where my son went to in kindergarten, and he's now in eighth grade. So, I'm also the building staff. It means that I'm sort of like overall sub, whatever everybody needs in the building, I'm there.
I see.
Interesting. Okay.
Thank you so much. So now, Flor and Teray, Grace, they are my friends way back in Cebu.
Mm-hmm.
So we come a long way in this in journalism work.
So
So
I'm
we
in
used
the
to,
company of three Cebuanas tonight.
yes.
Okay.
So tell us about racing
Mhm.
Malia, Flor, and racing
Whew.
JC. Teray, how is that? I mean, what traditions, Filipino traditions, are you consciously imparting their young childhood
Yeah, Malia
experience?
is six, right? Fleur?
Mhm.
Malia is 6, and she's
Mm-hmm.
also a Leo, so you can imagine what that is like. Two very strong-headed,
Feisty.
females in the
Mm-hmm.
house. But I don't think, talking about what it is that I'm imparting to my kids, because I also have a 23-year-old son. Not necessarily a Filipino tradition, but universal values like respect,
Mhm.
and honesty. So in Malia's case, talking about Filipino, traditions, she understands the concept of manopo. My parents have been here a couple of times,
Mhm.
so she was able to practice that, I guess, in real
Nice.
time. And she calls my parents nanay and tatay, not lolo and lola. I don't know, it's weird, but everybody calls my parents that, so she just copied them, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, you asked about, Marivier, if she does any, whatever, if she is into some Filipino food, for instance.
Uh-huh.
Um, Let me lead with I'm a terrible cook. So
Okay.
I don't really cook a lot of Filipino food at home. Occasionally they would make, you know, adobo and maybe pancit once in a while and lumpia. But
Mhm.
here's the thing, my child in the middle of the pandemic decided to become a vegetarian. So I can't even,
Wow.
cook what you would, consider Filipino cuisine. So she doesn't eat meat anymore. So
Wow.
it's been interesting. But yeah, she knows a few Filipino words, mainly the parts of her body. Um, Obviously I'm failing in teaching her my language.
You know, I love.
Right, but I'm trying. She's aware that she is, biracial. Her mom is Filipino, her dad is, African American. It comes with its own set of challenges and stresses, but yeah, so we can delve into that deeper, into the
Okay, I'll ask
conversation.
you further questions later. Let's hear from Teray. How do you impart the Filipino tradition, if ever you do, to
Yeah,
JC, Teray?
the same thing with floor, although of course we would like to attribute it to the Filipino tradition of, Filipino culture of respect for, especially for elders. I specifically tell Carlos that I don't like the way how other kids actually just, answer disrespectfully their parents or somebody older than them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I make it a point. So when he says to me, when I call he call his name or call him his attention, I would call him from like this the first floor where the living room is or where I am, and he's on the fourth floor, his room is. He would say, What? And I would say, You don't want me. So, but he's like, I'm not being disrespectful. I said, What? I'm hearing what is disrespectful. So, but he goes home to the Philippines. We go home every year. I mean, except for the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic, of course. So he kind of knows the Manopo and he see because we live most of the time in the mountains. So it's more traditional values. So he's really seeing how his cousins, the entire village is full of cousins, how they are with each other, and everybody's an aunt and uncle.
Yeah.
So sort of gotten into that because literally everyone's an aunt is an aunt and uncle. And I told him in the Philippines, if you're very close family, you're an aunt or an uncle. So he that's sort of like the Filipino tradition or the Filipino culture that he kind of gotten into, and he's not, it to him it's not strange that your uncle or aunt is, just someone who's close to you. And I think I agree with Floor. Like ideas of respect is actually universal,
Mhm.
and I think more importantly, I tell him to be open because our house, we have a third floor which we always rent to mostly postdocs at Yale, and they're from different countries, Japanese, we have Dutch, we had German, we all sorts of nationalities, and so he kind of, we talk and they tell us their culture. So not only is he attuned to the food, that there's different in food and and how they're cooked. He also they also know like how what things are that works for them and not, and we tell him housemates we have to be respectful, we have to be aware of what it is to live with other people. So he is sort of aware of that, and since he's aware of that, he knows that we talked about, especially with all the situation going on in this country. He knows that he's Filipino, but he looks very white, very fair
Mhm.
skin and light haired. But he knows that I had been treated differently by other people when we're together. So I
Mhm.
tell him that that's why respect is really important. Wherever you are, there are people who are always will be disrespectful. So you have to show that you can respect, and you don't just allow people to disrespect you. So that's sort of like you don't disrespect others, but when people disrespect you, you have to like tell them you don't like to be disrespected. And he's seen me do it in practice, in action. Like I literally would be like combative about people who are disrespecting me.
That's
Okay.
nice.
Well,
That's good, correct?
yeah, does JC speak Tagalog, or do you speak to him in Tagalog?
That's the thing with Floor. Like Floor and I, he speaks a little bit of Cebuano. So from we're from
Oh,
Cebu,
okay.
just a little tiny bit, especially like the funny or like the bad
So funny.
ones that he remembers. But when he's in the Philippines, he kind of gets to it. But that's the problem with language. If you're not using
Mhm.
it, you forget it.
Yeah.
So I failed in that as well. Epic failure.
I think that, well, Tirai, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that when we were pregnant, we had these wonderful ideas of I'm going to raise a biracial child. This child will
Mhm.
speak my language.
Uh-huh.
And then you're the only one speaking the dialect at home. It's hard,
Mhm.
right? And I started talking, one time I started talking to Malia just in Cebuano, and she was like, "What kind of English is that?"
I know it's true. We had wonderful ideas, but it's different. I think it's because Cebuanos just like talk in English. I don't know. I mean,
Mhm.
when we went home to the Philippines in the city, my
Uh-huh.
sister were talking in English. I mean, these kids
Mhm.
speak English like they're in the U.S. with all the right accent, and so my
Mhm.
son is like having issues. So that's why we live in the mountains, and people speak Cebuano, but still they try to speak English to be able to talk to John Carlos.
Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah. So are your husbands actively co-parenting, or and how do you deal with your cultural differences?
Yeah, that's you maybe
Mm-hmm.
floor star. Floor star.
When I
Right.
answer
Go
that
ahead.
I
question,
Go ahead.
mean, co-parenting, regardless of, parenting, itself is challenging, right?
Mm-hmm.
Parenting with somebody of, the same race as you, doesn't always mean that you will agree on everything.
right.
And now in my case, I'm co-parenting with somebody who is black, and that adds
Mhm.
another layer of challenges,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
right? Being married to a black man and raising black kids just present that extra layer of stresses as a parent. So let me
Could you?
start with,
Mhm.
before coming to the US, I had
Right.
zero concept of racism, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I read, about it in history books, saw news stories about it, but until you get here and witness it and live it, you have no understanding whatsoever. So
Mhm.
I think that was my main challenges because I had to understand this right away because the moment I landed in the United States, I
Mhm,
was step parenting an 8-year-old Black boy.
mhm,
So I had to navigate all these completely, foreign concepts about race and how people don't, treat you,
mhm,
as an equal just based on how you speak, the color of your skin, where you
mhm,
came from.
mhm,
So, yeah, it's stressful as a parent, but thankfully Kevin is being is very helpful when
mhm,
I'm trying to navigate all these different challenges of raising a Black boy, and now I have a 6-year old.
mhm.
So
Amazing. But Flora, I'd like to delve in further. Like, for example, what are the um, differences that you had to confront with Kevin? For example, perhaps style or a manner of speaking or the level of discipline. Could you cite as an example, an anecdote, a happy anecdote?
well, discipline. I you it probably would be surprising to some, but I'm the not fun parent in this family.
You're the strict one.
Um, yeah, exactly. I'm the tiger mom, I guess. And that's why both of my kids, navigate toward Kevin. I'm
I
more
see.
of the I'm more of the enforcer in the family. But yeah, I mean, we just to give you a little bit of a context. We live in Ashburn, one of the richest cities in the country.
Mhm,
I'm not saying I'm rich, but this is a very affluent neighborhood. People who live here are very highly educated. That doesn't
mhm,
mean that discrimination does not happen, right?
mhm,
Um, my son went when he first started middle school in Ashburn. There were a few Black kids. Thankfully, 10 years later, Malia is in a school which is highly diverse.
mhm,
Um, but we still had to deal with, microaggressions, you know, comments about Malia's hair, for instance. And there was one incident when I think Sean was only 10 years old, maybe 12. But this happened right around the time of the Trayvon Martin um, murder.
uh-huh,
And he was playing outside with another kid. And, let me go back to this is a very diverse neighborhood. And he
uh-huh.
was playing with another kid. They were running around and holding empty paintball guns. And somebody called the cops on them.
Oh my.
That
Really?
was my child's first interaction with police officers. Now, a rational person would approach, the child saying, hey, I don't want you to damage property, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm,
But if your first gut instinct is to call the cops on a child, we have a problem here, right? So those
right.
are just two instances that I can, you know, um, think of off the top of my head. So
Thank you, Flor. And how about Terai? How do
Yeah,
you
so yeah,
deal
there's
with
a
this?
kind of differences in the parenting because Charlie
Mhm,
is not only not a lot. So first of all, I'm more hands-on with John Carlos,
mhm,
and Charlie being, he's very busy with work. His If he's not traveling, he's doing a lot of research work. He's teaching, and
mhm,
it's like everything is so structured that he only spends like breakfast, time for dinner with his son, or like weekends they go biking.
mhm,
But of course, during the time when there are things that needed to be, like we talk about things, he tend to be like more liberal, like let him be. But that's not me. But anyway, let's start from
You're
being
also a
little.
tiger
So
mom.
I am hands on. Like I literally breastfeed him until I think he was maybe like 10 years old.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was
Wow.
still on the breast, like literally on the breast, and he would be on our bed. So until maybe like 8 or maybe 7 or 8 years old, maybe even 9, he was literally on our bed. He had a sort of like his sort of crib that turned into a kids' day bed next to our bed. But
Uh-huh.
he would not sleep there. He would sleep next to me. And eventually he would move down to his bed. But then when he was growing older, we had this room next to our room, which didn't have a door. So that
Uh-huh.
what happens is he sleeps with me, and then by the end of the night his dad would move him to his bed, or I would sleep with him to put him to sleep, and then I would move to our bed. So that's how sort of like things went. So he's very close to me. So grow, but most of the time I'm with him, and since I've been like taking classes, I was finishing work from UP, was finishing my thesis, I was taking classes at Yale. So I wasn't really working 8 to 5, but so I had more time with him. And when I started teaching as well, I still have more time with him. I had to, so in short, I have more influence on him, so that he is more Filipino in a way that he knows when I just, kind of like give the face to him, and he knows. Like,
That
you
you're
don't have to say anything. Like, you just give him like the look. He kind of
uh
knows that mom means something. Or when I raise my voice like a notch,
Yeah.
he knows that
I
I'm
think
a
all
little
moms
bit
do
upset.
that. Yeah. All
Yeah,
Filipino
Oh
so
my
moms do that.
gosh.
he kind of knows. But then the problem is his dad comes in, and then
uh
his dad says, "Don't give him a hard time. Let it go."
So you clash.
We have this argument in front of his child. So then we have this
Mhm.
major serious, like we are fighting, like, why are you doing this? So for example, like now he's a teenager, he's 14. He has
Uh-huh.
to do chores because that's the thing. He has to sweep the vacuum the floor, or put the dishes away, or set the table before dinner, right? And then he wouldn't do it because he's playing a computer game. And I said, no, it's your turn. And then his dad would say, let me do it. And like, no, you're not. He's not. And he's do it. And let him be. And so we kind of have those things. And I
Mhm.
tell, those things that sort of like, let him be. He's like, he's just a kid. So,
So
but
that's a
we
no-no too.
try.
That's
So
good.
those things that sort of like, how Americans, kids tend to like push the envelope. Like whenever they can get away, they'll try as
Mhm.
much as possible to get away with it.
Yeah.
But me, I actually I'm not a tiger mom kind of person, but I just try to kind of like give him an idea that, who's I am the boss here, dude. It's not your turn. You're 18. You be the boss of yourself. I make him.
I like Filipino
It's
mom.
funny you mentioned that because I grew up where it was fairly common for your elders to say, kids should not be involved in grown up conversations, right?
Hmm.
Kids should not be in the room when older people are talking. So I had to unlearn quite a lot of things, you know, um, while parenting Malia and Rashawn. Um, One of those is the concept of like hiya, where
Okay.
you pull back criticizing or responding to an offensive comment made by somebody because you don't want to stir up something, right?
Hmm.
But in a matter of raising black kids, and I refer to both of them as black because I could you know a lot of people know in my social circle that Malia is half Filipino, half black, but our
Hmm.
society will only see her as black. So
Hmm.
I have to raise her in a certain way that she's prepared for a society that will judge her according to the color of her skin,
Hmm.
according to her heritage. But yeah, I had to you know learn how to not necessarily be aggressive, but sometimes we Filipinos were just like, okay, let me think about this. Is it appropriate for
Hmm.
me to react? And there have been instances where I kind of like dialed down my reactions, but in the end, Kevin had to educate me about this. Like, I have to advocate for my child,
Right.
right? My job, my number one job is to protect my child. Now, every parent will say that,
Hmm.
but like I said, raising a black child adds that extra layer of
Right.
having to constantly be worried about the safety and the future of your child. In this country, that's not quite there yet as far as racial, equality is concerned.
Mhm. Thank you.
But
And
did
so
you
there
already
is
have some questions
there is
from
a
the audience?
from Jobert Opolensya.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're into the discussion of this, but his
Mm-hmm.
question is, have you considered preparing your kids to the time wherein they might face bullying and discrimination because of their identity? So,
Yeah.
Yes.
mhm.
Go ahead, Sarah. You can.
Yeah,
You want
so
to speak
other
first,
than the fact that I'm actually a very combative person, as people might say, even back in the Philippines, I'm not saying combative, but I'm not the one who would let someone like step on me. But
Mhm.
I have taken classes in early childhood education, and
Mhm.
so that like bullying, how do you actually prepare your child to have the emotional maturity to be
Mhm.
respectful at the same time, not letting other people disrespect them.
Right.
So I think I really made it a point that my kid would know border, like the boundaries. When he feels like people step on the boundaries, he would use his words,
Mhm.
not hitting, but use the words like, I don't like the way you're saying things. I don't like this when you hit me. I don't like it when you do this. And then that's the thing though, because they would say, fortunately for you, you have a kid who's very fair skinned and very Caucasian looking.
Mm.
But this is the thing, he has an identity crisis in a way that he has seen how people actually treat me, like on a train, they would say, I'm the nanny or something like, oh,
Mhm.
how did your employer let you take the kid with you, on the train?
Oh my gosh.
And there was
Mhm.
a time when actually I had a confrontation on the train, like almost violent, that this guy was literally harassing me and someone was trying to protect me. And then I literally hit the guy because he was going to like hit me. And so before he was going to hit me, I hit him first. And there was another
Oh my
guy who's a
God.
black guy. I was like, don't ever think about it. So I screamed for the conductor. I take the train going to New York. We go
Mm.
to New York a lot. We went to New York. We'd go to New York a lot in the past. And he was about maybe 8 or 9 years old. And so this guy was harassing me. He was drunk. He was a college kid with other college kids who were drunk. It was, I think, Memorial Day weekend or something like that. Anyway, so I called the conductor and no one was there. And the funny thing was like the white passengers were saying, we don't know where these guys are from. We are not like that. So there's already the idea that I do not belong because, the we and the you. And
Yeah.
then the conductor came and apologized to my child saying, oh, I'm sorry about what they did to you. I have babysit them. They're on the other side. They're on the other car. Never apologized to me. So, and the worst part was when the train stopped somewhere in Greens Farm, this kid went back to our car and called me the N word to go back to
Mhm.
to my country. So my poor
Mhm.
child was covering his face with a hat. So,
Mm.
these things you have to actually kind of like tell him, these things we don't have control over. But he saw that I actually did not allow myself to be bullied. But at the
Mhm.
same time, I told him it was wrong for me to hit this guy. But I was so angry.
Mhm.
And I mean, you're in a situation where you really don't know, you had no like manual for that. You kind of
Yeah.
like been thrust in the situation, which was like, and then you're ready to fight and you forgot you have a kid. You have to like model your behavior, but at the same time, you're just being realistic. This guy is like ready to hit you. Before he hits me, I'm gonna hit him. And then I had to tell him like these are
Oh my
bullies.
God.
They're
That's
all
tough.
going to be bullies, but you try to not, be violent. But there are times when you really can't stop, but you try to not like, do something really crazy. You have to really know where you are. These guys were drunk first and foremost. You just like go away.
I'm glad
So
it didn't escalate into something
yeah,
worse,
it's
right?
like
Mm.
just
Yeah.
imagine this year my 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid was like covering his face with a hat and like so tense and no one came to help me,
Mm.
like like they were just watching this guy were except for that one black guy who thankfully
Mhm.
left the car when he came back to call me the n-word, and maybe he too, but he's gone. There would have been
Mhm.
like really serious stuff going on there if he was still there.
Oh
Mhm.
my.
Right.
Anyway, here's another question from Marjorie Martinez. This is for Flor and for Terai as well. How do you empower and help your daughter embrace her identity, Flor? And also Terai, how do you do that to embrace their identity, the children?
Right. So, Malia is, like I said, very much aware that she is half Filipino and half Black. But
Mhm.
like I said, I can always stress that and, emphasize that at our home. But
Mhm.
outside of our house, she will always be seen as a Black child,
Right.
right? What There are things that are within our control. We live, like I said, in a very diverse neighborhood. I would like for her to see and be among, kids of different races,
Mhm.
um, and be able to, experience different things. But at the same time, I would, my hope is that my kids will be, especially Malia, will be a better version of me. Be
Mhm.
assertive. Be able to stand up for herself. when and somebody is, bullying her or discriminating her, and you know, to be able to defend her truth.
Mm-hmm.
So what what I can do on my end as a mom is that I would like to raise a strong, resilient child who can handle this, society that may not treat her, fairly, or even, discriminate her in certain situations. I mentioned earlier, somebody made a comment about her hair,
Mhm.
right? If if that happened in the Philippines, we would just say, oh, it's just kids being kids,
Mhm.
right? But this is different. Words have power.
Mhm.
And I don't want my child thinking something's wrong with her hair. So in
Yeah.
that moment, you know, I had to shed that Filipino ness in me,
Mhm.
that will just shake it off. Oh, it's just, there's no harm done. It's just a comment. No, that can have a very harming effect on my child's self-esteem down the road. So I have to be very aware when the situations happen, and I'm also very very fortunate that I have a husband who also constantly educates me about the different challenges that we face just parenting a child who is non-white.
Thank you so much. It's tough, right?
Yeah.
They're right. How do you
Right.
do
So,
it?
yeah, so
Mhm.
this is the thing about races. So, like Flora was saying, we're also lucky we're in New Haven. It's very diverse because of
Mhm.
Yale University. We have international scholars and coming in from all different parts of the world. And in fact, his school is like the mini United Nations. There are all sorts of kids from different nationalities and different identities. So, but the
Mhm.
thing with Giancarlo's and embracing his being Filipino is sort of like ingrained in a way that he knows he's Filipino because we go home every year, almost every year for the past like 5 years.
Mhm.
But at the same time, he knows that he's Filipino because he knows that I'm treated differently, but he doesn't look his skin, his sort of his more his dad. But he
Mhm.
tells me that mom, I'm Filipino inside me. And sometimes unfortunately he says, I'm ashamed of being white because of when he reads about he's so updated with what's going on. And he says, I'm so ashamed of my being white because white people do all sorts of crazy things. So I'm like, no, not all white people do all sorts of crazy things. Brown people, black people also do all sorts of crazy things. But it's
Mhm.
true, the racism is so bad, and you have to acknowledge your privilege that you're fair skin and you have light hair that you can get away with so many things. And he knows because his dad has gotten away with a lot of traffic like violations, like over speeding, and he would just be like, okay, just do it again. I'm
Oh,
pretty sure if his dad were not like, like
not
an
white.
older white guy, he would probably not gotten, would probably gotten a ticket. And ticket costs hundreds, at least $100. So that's one
Mhm.
thing for him to realize, his sort of privilege of being fair skinned, but at the same time knowing that he also is Filipino. One of the things too, talking about about race, is that I'm early on trying to tell him race is artificially kind of made by people, created by people. Because to be honest, he's Hispanic. My mom is Hispanic, my dad is mostly Chinese, and it turned out that of course, aside from being the native Filipino, my mom comes from a sort of crypto Jew. So we have these Jewish roots that we're kind of just discovering recently. So my ex-husband, actually, I'm divorced now. So but we're still very familiar. We still live in the same house. We're like the same thing. So my ex-husband's former wife was Jewish. So his first daughter is actually Jewish. So my son identifies so much with being Jewish. So we do a lot of Jewish tradition recently.
Mhm.
So it is sort of like, race is it's arbitrary.
It's a
What's
social construct.
like
Hmm.
what
It's a social
Flora was
construct.
saying
Yes, right.
is that there's a human race because
Mhm.
when this is funny, when he was in kindergarten, I had to check that box, only one box, whether he's Asian, he's white, he's black,
That
and
is
he only checked
everything.
one box. And how can I check only one box? He's Asian, he's white, right? And then he's also Hispanic. So I talked to I emailed the superintendent, I talked to the principal, and the principal said, you just need to check one box. I said, well, since I'm the one checking the box, I'm going to check Asian. So my son is Asian. His name is John Carlos Moser. Like, yeah, and then he looks
Doesn't sound
white.
Asian.
Does it make sense to you? Like, this is a very blonde kid, very fair skin. His name is John Carlos Moser, and he's Asian. So you know how arbitrary that sort of like just
Yes.
show how crazy this idea of race is. Like
Mhm.
we all are the same, like eggs of brown or white shells, and they're all the same eggs inside.
Mhm.
So I emphasize to him the idea of human race. So but at the same time, what's important is he recognizes his ethnicity, that he's Filipino from the Philippines. You know, he has Spanish blood, his Chinese blood, and his dad
Mhm.
is like Danish, like Scottish and German and Swiss. So there's like all sorts of things in him. So it's so kind of crazy to be pointing. We're all of us are sort of all these things. We just don't know, right? Because of all the globalization in the past. So this whole idea of you're white, you're black, it's just like totally ridiculous.
And
Like
it
Yeah.
is ridiculous because it comes out with the
understand
same
why.
color of the
It's so
blood,
crazy.
despite the
Yeah.
There was
color.
a, I
Yeah,
think
we're
I,
talking about color. Okay, go ahead,
oh,
Fer.
I thought I saw a question earlier about
Mhm.
how do I
Prepare your
teach my
child.
child, prepare my child to
Mhm.
embrace her identity.
Mhm.
I'm not, trying to diminish her Filipino-ness. She knows that.
Mhm.
But when it comes to her, being a black child, like in school, they learn about Black History Month, right? They
Right.
learn about Martin Luther King, and it's like what they call age appropriate version of Black history. I mean, the history of African Americans in this country. Now, in this
Mhm.
house, we give her the unvarnished truth, right?
Mhm.
Because that's the only way that she can understand her identity and also to prepare her to respond to a society that, only sees her as a black child, you know. So they talk about how black people came to the US, and at home we say they've been enslaved, right?
Mhm.
This is how they came to be in the United States. Now, some people may think that is too much for a child, but I mean, I have to look forward to, is my child going to be ready to um, deal with hate, right? Um, so I have to have that, thinking to be able to prepare my child so that she can be safe in
Mhm.
Mhm.
society. She can defend herself. She can be resilient to whatever challenges that come her way.
Right.
Right. So
Um.
I have a question because we're talking about the color of the skin, right? Excuse me. So as parents, were you ever asked whether your kids are yours? So because
Yes.
some people are out of curiosity, right? So they just ask you, "Oh, are they yours?" So do you
Oh,
get that a lot?
Yes. So it's funny because,
How do
like
you
I
deal
said,
with it?
I
Uh-huh.
have when I got married, Kevin's Kevin had an 8 year old now. At that time, he was 8 years old from his first marriage. So I was coming in as a step parent right away
Mhm.
to a black boy. And we would go outside, we go to the mall, and you could see just people looking at me and then look at him and trying to figure out what are they, right? And
Uh-huh.
then, he calls me Tita. So that was also probably added to the confusion of some people.
Mhm.
Now, Malia, I guess they could see a little bit of, Asian in her, but she is, very, very, it's very obvious that she's a biracial child. But yeah, especially among Filipinos, it's
Mhm.
we really don't have we don't have boundaries, right?
Uh-huh.
We just, blurt out whatever it is that
Mhm.
comes to our mind, and it's funny, but it's also offensive at the same time. But yeah, I'm
I
sure
Right.
understand that.
Therese has her own
That's
experiences
right.
about being questioned what her relationship is
Mhm.
when out and about with her child.
yeah. So we don't have
Right.
a car, and we usually go to New York when he was growing up. So I would take the bus or the train to New York, and
Mhm.
many times, like I said, one time this person was like, "Oh, that's really nice of your employer to have your charge come with you to
Oh my
the
Oh my
train."
God.
right.
Mhm.
Oh
So,
my
but
goodness.
when he was a baby, so that's one, right? When I was a
Mhm.
baby, I was breastfeeding. I was breastfeeding in public because it's on the train, and it's like 2 hours from New Haven to New York City. So, but I had the thing covered, and obviously, I was breastfeeding him. So this one person just said, "Oh, so how much are they paying you for that?"
Oh my
What?
And I'm like, I didn't really, honestly, I didn't
God.
understand the question until I reached home. I was like, keep asking myself, what was the question all about? And then I realized that, oh my God, I thought it was the wet nurse.
Oh,
So
My
another thing,
goodness.
and then there's
How did
another
you
oh
guy.
my
realize
This
God.
that? Oh my God.
Carlos calls me mommy, mommy, mommy. And so this guy was like, oh, so did you adopt him? And I'm like, no, he's from
Mm,
my stomach. I was like,
mhm,
just, there's those crazy things that
Mhm.
people really say to you. Like it's crazy. And John Carlos knows this, that I have been thinking people think I'm the nanny, especially when he was really young because his hair was really light.
Mhm.
And
mhm.
now you can see that he actually looks like me, except
I,
for
Yes,
yeah,
the
my
I
male
remember
version of Terai.
he
my
had
carbon copy.
I
Yeah,
remember he
yeah,
had deep blue eyes and he was
yes.
very blonde when I first met him as a baby. I first saw him as a baby. It was
He's weird.
he was
I
very
find him weird when I saw him. Like, oh my god, this kid look like this baby looks an alien.
There you go. There you
Wow.
go.
We have a very interesting discussion now.
Yeah, we have
So yeah, more questions?
yes, we have a question
Mm-hmm.
from Jobert Opolencia again. What do you think of this, Flor and Teray? There are cases wherein biracial children properly raised by parents, but when they turn of legal age, things completely turn around for the worse. This could be because of strict upbringing, tiger moms, the feeling of no liberty. So what can you say? Like we Filipinos, are we being so strict that the kids become wayward as a when they become teenagers and they rebel? Are you scared of that? Is that
Uh
gonna
um
happen?
I am
Let's have Flor. Yeah.
okay. I don't know if he was judging me. My parents. No, I'm kidding. I joke around that I'm being a tiger mom, but to just give you an example, when the pandemic happened and
Uh-huh.
Malia's school had to go virtual, and I was like freaking out, like, oh my God, she's gonna be left behind. She's not
Mm-hmm.
gonna learn her math and her reading and her writing. And then I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, crazy woman, there is a deadly virus going around, and she
Mm-hmm.
is sick, right? The important thing right now is that she's healthy and safe,
Mm-hmm.
and that she's happy. So yeah, there are moments where I have to dial down my craziness as a parent and just focus on raising a healthy, child,
Mm-hmm.
who I'm hoping, the foundational values that Kevin and I are, you know, building and in raising them as, just all around a good person would carry them through their lives. I'm very lucky with Sean. He's now 23 and
Mm-hmm.
just, he's a good guy. And I'm hoping that I can, in the same way that Malia would grow up to be a good person, good, resilient, and also just, yeah, somebody who can stand up on her own.
Thank you very much. Any parent would wish that, right? And so let's have Terai's
Yeah, that's
opinion
a
on
really
this. Uh-huh.
important and challenging question because I think
Mm,
that's like what a lot of moms fear. So I do think that it's not even whether you're in the US or in the Philippines because I see a lot of kids in the Philippines as well rebelling when they kind of become of legal age and they want to do their own thing.
yeah.
So this is not to judge parents how they're treating because you could be like really treating your kid, you have raised them well, and then by the time they're of sort of they realize that they have their own independence, they think of their own, and I don't know what that worst turn of events mean. I mean, that could
Mm,
be worse to some people, that could not be worse to some people. So I would like to share this experience with my. We have a my brother's son who we kind of took custody over until he was 18 years old. He was 14. We in fact went to court so that I can
mm-hmm.
have custody over him to take care of him because he was little. He was like 2 when I started taking care of him, and he called me mommy. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, he was 14. I took him from my brother in Long Island and made him live with me. But then he was having issues the whole time. He would run away, and it was
Mhm.
just also one thing after the other. So when he was 18, he's on his own. So the thing is, I would say I tried to really like treat him like I treat Giancarlos. I was being reasonable with him, but there are just issues that you don't know is beyond your control. And
Right.
in my case, I didn't really have the whole of his childhood to be with him. I only had since he was 14 to until he's 18. So he had to live in a sort of job corps. It's like a government sort of private public institution that takes care of wayward kids and help them, teach them skills so they can be productive citizens when they're adults. So in terms of the question, it's really, the question is, when kids are on when your kids turn to adults, I think the important thing is to sit down and just have this conversation. What do you really want in your life? And kind of respect that, and just assure them that, we are here. When you make your decisions, we hope that you make the responsible decision. We just give them the guide. We can't really tell them exactly what to do. Like,
You're right.
these are the responsible things to do. Like, you have your bills. You have to work to be able to pay your bills. You have to do this. You have to clean your bathroom. You have to, like, set your, like, make your bed. You have to, like, wash your dishes. Those basic things. And when you're out of the house, you have to do this because there's no mom there. No mom's gonna cook for you. You have to do your laundry. You have to take a shower every day. Those very basic conversations.
Yes,
And
Grace
when they
is
move
a
out,
mom of
yeah, and
grown up
I
boys.
tell
So
that to John
yeah,
Carlos. John Carlos, when you're
must be
18 and you
interesting.
want to move out, you have to be able to learn these things, because then you would live with other people. You don't want to be a burden to other people. Then, you'd be like a mess, you'd be a slob. But then turn for the worst would be like, I don't know what that means, like to go into drugs, to those things are really sad. And I don't know how to deal with that if that thing happens to me. But if your kid wants independence, I would let my kid to have independence. So like Ben right now, my nephew that I'm talking about, he's in Texas. He
Mm-hmm.
went to Texas to see this girlfriend he met when he was 14 on the internet. Never
Mm-hmm.
seen her before. So I bought him a one-way ticket to Texas.
One
He
way.
doesn't have a job. He has $800 in his wallet. And I said to him, I told him the same thing. You make your decision, but I'll be here. If you need us, just let us know. But as much as possible, you have to stand by your decision and take the consequences for that. Because we cannot be like taking after you, then you call us, oh, you know what? Can you please Venmo me money for the diaper? So I really told him, you can't get your girlfriend pregnant. You can't be texting us at 1 in the morning asking for, milk for your baby or diaper or whatever. So those conversations are hard, but they're so basic. But at the same time, you really need to let your kid be on his own to learn how to swim, so to speak, right? Or the bike. But then you also have to understand that they could fall and they could get hurt, but that's the only way they will learn. And hopefully they'd learn the lesson soon enough before they're too old to actually to become better persons and be productive and responsible. So I hope I don't have to deal with that with my child, because I deal with Ben. I couldn't sleep at night. Like now, I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, I think it's just trying to strike that right balance of guiding them and
Mm-hmm.
you know being intentional about the kinds of values that you impart to them, but at the same time respecting their independence, that they are
Right.
their own person and that they're going to grow into whatever person they're going to be in the future, right? We can only control so much as a parent. um, so I'm hoping that Kevin and I are doing right by our kids. Uh, Sean is now living on his own, so I guess yay, we succeeded with that one. He has his own apartment, he has a job, he has you know
Oh my God.
um,
I didn't know
yeah.
that. He's away,
I
he's
know.
out of
I
your
know,
house.
Marie, when you
Yeah.
first met him, he was a small boy, but now he's a
Yeah.
grown man. So
Oh my God.
yeah, it's like striking that right balance, respecting
Mhm.
them as a person, but also just giving them the right tools so that they are prepared for what life throws in their way. So
Yes. Wonderful.
Wow.
Amazing
I
mom.
hate to say this, but we're running out of time. My goodness.
Yeah.
Thank you
So
so much
good
for
luck on your
sharing.
motherhood
Sure.
roles.
Yes.
thank
Th-
you.
You're
Thank you
free.
for
Thank
your
you.
time, for the experiences being shared. It's really
Mhm.
valuable.
Yeah.
Thank you, Taray, and thank you,
You're
Flora.
welcome. It's great to be here. And we hope we could do more of these things and maybe we can learn from other people as well because
We could
we're struggling.
we hope to have you again
Yeah, we
soon.
can
Yeah,
have a
like
virtual
Flor was
visit.
saying, we're just winging it.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for sharing
The-
your experiences about tonight topics. Really appreciate it. We learned a lot
Thank
from you
you.
guys. Yeah. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Thank you,
everyone.
and
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you,
thank you so much.
everybody.
You can stay over. You can stay until the show finishes.
Oh,
You know, we'd be glad to have you. And it's going to be a few more minutes anyway.
Right.
So all the best, and thank you also to our audience who's interacting with us. And more power to the wonderful moms, Teray and
yay, more
Flor.
power.
Right.
More
And
power,
for women power.
women power. There
Yes.
you go. So that was wonderful, right,
Yeah,
Grace?
we learned a
Oh my
lot.
God,
Yeah.
50 minutes just flew. I
Exactly.
told you when we were
I didn't
talking
realize
with
we're
Teray and Flor,
almost one
it's
hour.
nothing.
Very
Oh,
interesting discussion indeed.
yes. And now it's time to give our audience some treat.
Oh yes, of course, our
They should call
raffle
us.
segment for our
Yes. Our
viewers
audience
tonight.
will dial your
Yeah.
number, Flor. I'm Grace.
Yeah, I forgot. Okay, let me turn on that phone. Oh my God, where is it?
So please dial this number to win a certificate. This is a gift certificate for meals for
Yes.
$25 at Amazing Grace Restaurant on Woodside Avenue.
Yeah, you
And
have to check. Oh, you've checked it out. We already checked that restaurant, and
yes,
they
it's
serve,
yummy. Good
yeah,
there.
they serve delicious food. Lutong
And
bahay.
then the number to call is 917-858-2356 to win a prize.
Right.
So,
We don't have to ask a question, and they don't have to call just to
yeah,
answer
just
a
this is
question.
for free.
Simply call us.
Call
You
us
get this
now.
for free. Just to say
hmm
thank you for tuning in with us tonight.
Right.
Right.
So,
So thank you
um,
to Amazing Grace for giving us, the gift certificate worth $25.
yes, there will be two winners tonight, Grace, right?
Yes, we have two certificates from Mr. Efren De Leon of Amazing Grace. Thank you, sir. Okay, we have one. Oh, what happened? They canceled the call.
Change the mind.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
we'll wait. So, what do we have in the community so far, Maribel?
We had a forum with.
Oh, okay. All
Okay,
right.
let's answer that first.
Hello. 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 No one is answering. Hello. Yes. Hello.
Hello?
Yes. Good evening. Are you calling?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Can I have your name?
Gilbert of Valencia.
Jobert,
Tumatawag eh. Valencia
thanks
sila.
for saving us.
You're on air, Jobert. You're on air.
So
All
funny.
right. So congratulations.
Bye.
All right.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Jobert. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you so much. And so another up for grabs will be the same $25 certificate for lunch or dinner or snacks, whatever you want to be there at Amazing Grace. Jobert, thank you. You are truly our friend.
As you were saying, Marivir, about the
Yeah, we
community.
just had a
Yeah.
forum on DACA along with
Oh, okay.
who which was sponsored by the Philippine Consulate and the Office of Cobrador and Associates.
Oh, Attorney
Attorney
Lizelle.
Giselle
Yeah.
Cobrador was the speaker. This was last Friday because the DACA is back.
Mm-hmm.
So people can qualify to uh, to apply for DACA, and they will have their work permit, and they don't have to be uh, anxious of their status because
Mm-hmm.
they have there's a comment.
What comment?
You
Yeah,
have
that's
too
that's
much
good news for
Joe
our
Bert.
for our dreamers.
Yes, for our
Mm-hmm.
dreamers. Sorry, I got
So it's
distracted, but
back.
this is really a fun comment.
Yeah, you are too much, Jobert. Yeah, he always
Oh,
calls to win a prize.
yes, amazing, Jobert. So call us again. One more
Yeah,
from
yeah. We
our
have five
audience.
minutes. We have 5 minutes.
Yes, call us at 917-858-2356 for our
Yeah.
uh,
Gift
gift
certificate
certificate.
from Amazing Grace.
That's you, I think,
Yeah.
Grace. Amazing Grace.
I wish that's my restaurant, right? You can try there. What did we have there, Marivir? The pancit bihon.
We had we had
We had
fish,
the
grilled
fish
fish.
and the grilled fish and the sinigang na salmon. It's so good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
Oh
try
yeah,
it
that was
out, Amazing Grace, and
good
just
for the
call us
winter.
to win a prize of $25
Mm-hmm.
gift certificate.
Right. Amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing
Awesome,
Grace.
right?
So,
And
what
next,
happens if
yeah.
nobody calls and it's an hour already?
We
What
can save it for next week.
we can
Oh,
save it for
yeah,
next week.
next,
So,
not next week, on our next
lovely friends,
episode.
you can call us. If you want to go to Amazing Grace, we can join you.
Yeah, just call
So,
us. We're just a phone call away, and we'll be there.
yeah, it's near my
Right?
house. It's on
Yeah, you're from
Woodside.
Queens. Yeah, I have
Uh-huh.
to take the PATH train and the subway to get there. Oh my goodness! So we will have an exciting episode on Thursday. Is that right? On Thursday, is
On
it?
Thursday, yes, we will have an
Mm,
exciting episode, a special one.
mm-hmm.
We will
Are we going to tell them
unbox.
about? Oh yeah, we will do unboxing
We will unbox a
Thursday.
surprise
Yes.
that was sent to us. So
Uh-huh.
it's exciting. So keep watching,
Exciting.
and we will also give you prizes.
We will give the price from the box. Is it?
Can be. We can do
Yeah, we
that.
can do that. Yeah.
We can do that.
Uh, so we will do the unboxing
Mm-hmm.
of a special gift from.
Right.
Shall we say it from whom? Not
From
yet.
the No, not yet.
Not yet. Yet. Okay, it's a surprise. Just tune in on Thursday.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. So I think we just have to save it for our next episode.
Okay. You don't want to
Mhm.
wait?
Yeah, we have 3 more minutes. But again, thank you to Terai and Fleur for joining us.
Yes, that was a very
Um,
deep conversation
yes, yes.
on motherhood and
Mhm.
dealing with a different culture here in the US, and they have biases and all that at
Yeah.
how we
It's still
look,
happening, right?
stereotyping and all that. Oh gosh, I don't
Yeah.
think we can avoid it.
Sadly.
It's like a
Yeah.
matter of
It's
how
there.
we educate them about us. That's my take on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we have a greeting from
Yeah.
Sylvia Hubilia.
Yes.
She's
Oh, Tita
watching. Thank you, Ma'am
Sylvia.
Sylvia, watching
Thank you
from
so
Austin,
much.
Texas.
Mhm.
Congratulations on another great episode. Very relevant
Yes.
discussion. Yes, and also Mom Sylvia's daughters
Mm-hmm.
are also raising biracial kids, so she can really
Oh,
identify
or
with
maybe we can
this.
have them next time together with Terai and
Yeah, yeah, it would be a forum, right? Like,
right, exactly. So yeah,
it's a
please,
support system too, actually,
mhm.
no?
Yeah.
Right.
So friends, just let us know if you want us to discuss a
What
topic.
topics?
Yeah,
Yeah, what topics you want us
that
to
you yeah that you
have
want
a
us to.
conversation with? Yeah,
Mhm. We're open to that.
that's good.
Mm-hmm.
So I think nobody's calling, so we will
Well,
reserve.
yep, we will
We will
reserve it for
just
the next episode.
save it for our next episode.
Yeah, and I'll see
Okay.
you on Thursday for the unboxing activity.
Yes, and we'd
All
like to say
right.
hi to Consul Arman,
Hi, Consul Ahmad and
Consul
Beverly.
Beverly. So there you go. There's a
Okay.
so it's been a wonderful night of insightful discussion of issues, Grace. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
and it's been a night of great inspiration again. And once again, happy Women's Month to all women all over the world.
Right.
And to you, my friend.
Mabuhay. And to you, my friend, keep
Mabuhay.
it up. Keep it
All
up.
right. You
Go
take
lang ng
care.
go. Thank you,
Yes.
everyone. Good
Thanks. Good
night.
night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.